Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's discussion from the Executive Leadership Series. I'm Mark Johnson. I'm an Executive Technology Advisor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Mark Hinderleiter. Mark is an executive coach, and I have the utmost regard for Mark and his leadership abilities. He's both led large-scale organizations, billion-dollar companies, and has an incredible track record. And today coaches executives across the country and helps them build top organizations. So very fortunate to have my co-host is Dr. Hinderleiter. For those of you that this is the first time you're joining us, the goal of these discussions is to provide an online venue that's easy for everybody to join, and we discuss the most pressing topics that leaders are facing today. And as we know, there's a lot of new challenges today in this COVID-19 crisis. And what does the world look like coming out of this? And what are the challenges that leaders will be facing? So we take those on, and each week we talk about a different topic that's relevant and important for leaders to understand. We're going to have a discussion with our experts today on the topic. For those that are participating on the online session, feel free to send in your comments or questions using the chat feature. And after the discussion with the experts, we'll open that up and address any of your questions. So today, our topic is talent, leadership, and culture amid the COVID crisis. So what a hot topic for each of us as leaders. Each of these are very key to success, and I'm thrilled to have some experts on the line to help us talk this topic through. Joining us today is Wade Allen. Welcome, Wade. Wade, Mark and I always talk about what we really enjoy with working with people that have both hands-on experience as well as relevant subject matter expertise, and Wade fits that description. He's both worked inside of large companies and been a very effective, successful leader within companies. And for the past 25 years, he's helped other companies find the top leaders and nationwide help them secure what he calls impact leaders. So his firm's recognized as one of the top boutique firms in the nation in this topic. So real fortunate to have Wade and his insight on the discussion today.
Thanks.
So Wade provided this great piece of humor for us. I think any of us that have gone through the recruiting process can probably relate to this. It can have a tendency to age you and make you feel this way. So Wade, fortunately, we can see the live version of you, and I don't think it's that bad. So it may feel that bad certain days.
Luckily, I'm a spring chicken here, as you can see.
That's right.
Yes, it is an interesting process, to say the least.
Absolutely. So let's jump in here and talk about, as we refer to TLC, talent, leadership, and culture. So Wade, let's start with talent. Talk to us about talent, why it's important, and how you kind of describe talent.
Okay. Well, talent, is, as the slide talks about it, it's a competence, but that talent, comes at many levels and in many different areas. So straight into your career, you didn't start out probably as a stellar, for example, CFO. At the same time, if you're not good with numbers, you're probably not going to be on track to be a stellar CFO. So what you really got to do is figure out what you are good at, your competence, and try to excel in it. So let's just say you're 6'6" and 315 pounds. Guess what? That doesn't make you an NFL lineman. However, if you want to be an NFL lineman, it'd probably be pretty beneficial to be 6'6" and 315 pounds. So again, you got to figure out what you're excel at, what your competence is, and focus on that.
Excellent. That's great. Well, Wade, a lot of times when I've worked with leaders looking to fill a position, people will start off with, well, here's the technology skills, these talents that they think that they have to have, and it's kind of a word match. So is there more to talent than just, okay, they've got the word listed on the job description and all these words? Is there more to recognizing proper talent than just, so often the mistakes I think leaders make is matching words, if you will?
Yeah, the old, you know, internet of let's have these keywords that we're searching for on quote, resumes and stuff, which again is not typically done at the executive level. Uh, yeah, is going to make you pop up, but I think the bottom line, especially if you're looking more at the executive level, you have a track record, and your track record better show why those things are relevant, and not just the fact you have them on the screen. And then obviously in your conversations, you should be able to quickly determine, hey, is this a real talent or not? Because yes, someone can help you write your resume and you can make yourself look like, you know, the most stellar person in the world for this position. But bottom line, that's going to come out pretty quickly when you start talking to someone.
Super. Well, Wade, you give us such a great perspective from all your years as being that executive recruiter that leaders turn to find that talent. Mark, you very complimentary, have led big global companies as the head of HR that's working with people like Wade to find talent. What's your perspective from the internal side as to how you guide executives and internal teams and the topic of talent?
Yeah, so to me, talent is kind of the price of entry. You've got to have it
Mhm.
to
Good.
get the role, to get the job, but that's all it is. It's the ticket to get in. Um, Having talent, my experience by itself does not guarantee performance, but it's a ticket to get in, right?
Right.
Once you have talent in your organization, like Wade helps companies do, my experience is it is so important on the inside of the organization to make the talent blend. You
Mm.
know, if you think about basketball, you got five people on a court at any given time, and having one superstar does not win.
Right.
Having that talent blend where people, uh, the right people are in the right roles and they're collaborating and they have a common purpose and values. I know Wade's going to talk about that stuff. I don't want to preempt
No,
that, but talent is really critical. But there's more to it. That talent it has to fit, the culture of that organization. It has to blend with the other talented people in that organization.
Right. For those of us in Texas, whether you're a Dallas Cowboy fan or a Houston Texans fan, there's probably some good examples where you can relate to on the point you just talked about. So for the Cowboys fans, if you remember back in the day, T.O., Terrell Owens,
Yeah,
phenomenal physical talent that bounced around among teams for probably the same reason each time. It wasn't because he didn't know how to catch a football. A lot of talent, but he couldn't ever fit the culture and the
yeah,
environment of the team. So I think that's kind of your point. We recently saw for the Houston Texan fans that Houston traded away one of their top wide receivers. And everybody's in shock going, wow, but he's so fast. He catches the ball. He's good. Why would they do that? Well, I think it's the point that Wade and Mark have just made is that it's more to it to be a good fit than just the skill sets. There's more to talent than that. So I think great points.
agreed. I agree with Mark. Those are very good points. It is the entry ticket to get there. If you don't have that ticket, you're not one of those five players on the team that he was talking about.
for sure. Yeah.
Super. Great. Well, let's move on to leadership. Wade, walk us through this. We see on the screen here a description of leadership, but kind of give us the real world perspective and what's important in this component.
Well, leadership, leaders, what their real job is to harness talent. Mark
Mm.
was talking about, basically that a second ago. It's a leader's job is to actually harness that talent. You know, not everybody's into sports, so let's talk about agriculture. If you have a horse or a tractor and you want to plow the field, unless you connect up to that, or harness up the horse to the plow, yeah, the tractor or the horse will get you from A to B, but it won't have achieved the job of plowing the field if you haven't hooked it up and stuff. So, what is your real goal? You need to help define that and build that so that, you're actually you want your individual players to feel like they're part of that process, helping define what's going on so that they actually feel engaged. Because if you don't get that engagement, then all you have is an employee getting a paycheck. Yeah, they may be doing a job, but they're not doing it to the level they could, and they're not part of the team. And it takes them to being truly fully engaged for you to maximize your ROA. And guess what? Your whole job of your company is to maximize ROA because you're trying to make a profit.
Yeah. You know, I like how Wade kind of positions this, Mark, is kind of the talent and leadership go together. I know there's
Mhm.
another piece of this puzzle, but I've seen this, and I'll bet you two have too, is talent can go to waste
Mm,
without the right leadership.
mm,
Yes.
Talent, talent, in fact, will not just go to waste, it will fly away and seek a better place where their talent will be valued and rewarded and respected. And so that's the biggest waste of talent that I've seen in my career, guys, is
mm,
talent that wasn't engaged by the right leaders,
right.
that knew how to engage talent, work with talent, challenge people, and encourage them to, you know, to nurture their talent and to contribute at high levels. So talent by itself is not enough, and talent with bad leadership uh, will not get the job done. In fact, they will unengage or just leave.
Yeah, I think one of the things to add to that is I have a strong belief that most employees have more potential and more capabilities than what they're doing. They kind of have some limitations they've accepted. You know, you can say they put it on themselves, but really I think that so many employees were put into that whack-a-mole game. You know, they actually raised their hand to have maybe great input. They got their whack down. They might have raised it a second time. They got whacked down by the leader who didn't want to hear anybody else because they were the boss. They were the brains of the area, the section that they were in. And you learned real quick of, hey, I'm not going to raise my hand anymore. And yet it's the leader's job to unlock that potential. You know, the problem is okay, most people have in their pocket a key to their car, a key to their house, maybe a key to the office, and it's already a key that was given to you that fits your lock. Well, guess what? For your employees, it's a blank key that hasn't been cut yet. And if you have a dozen employees, you got a dozen blank keys, and they're all unique, and you've got to figure out how to cut that key to get in. And that is the job of a leader because everybody's not the same. It's not one key, a master key that fits all 12 of your employees. And you know, your job is to go out there and make that happen and get them doing above and beyond what they've put their limitations on.
So Wade, when we're hiring leaders, how do you tell, what are your indicators? What do you look for and what makes a good leader? What separates the great leaders from the so-so leaders? And how do you figure that out quickly in an interview process when you have a very short window of time that's without? Because a lot of people look great on paper and have previous leadership experience, but how do you know what's a good leader?
Well, there's several things, but the one of the things that really, to me, is very, very important and jumps out is where's their focus? Are they talking about me, what I did? Or are they talking about how they got a team to perform and go above and beyond and work the extra hours and come up with solutions that no one else had come up with? Or are they all about themselves? Because that right there, to me, is a major red flag right off the bat that says, hey, they're not maximizing the people above them. And hey, guess what? They may be one of those that believes a boss's job is to sit in their ivory tower and to tell people what to do, and they get all the credit for it. You know, a genuine leader or a good leader to me is someone who genuinely cares for their people. They make clear they're not in the ivory tower. They make it clear that, you know, everyone's not below them, and they get out with their people. They talk to their people. You know, they want to know about them. They want to know about them personally. They want to know about their family, their interests, even their career interests. You know, what are their hobbies? You know, then they ask them questions about, you know, and ask for input. And one of the key things, again, is for red flag is, do they actually listen? Because a good leader is not about talking. A good leader is about listening, okay? And then, you know, taking all those things together and then hopefully putting the right plans and strategies in place. But And top of that is you get a great input from one of your quote lowest people on the totem pole. Well, guess what? Are you taking credit for it? Or are you giving them credit for it? Because that's what makes people say, hey, I'm there because this person's all about me and I want to work and perform for them because this is a great place to be.
Great point. Thank you, Wayne. Mark, go ahead.
If I could throw a thought in there, Mark and Wade, there is so much written about leadership, and Wade really kind of captures it, that our job as leaders is really to harness talent and get it working towards a purpose that matters, right? That includes the bottom line, because companies have to be sustainable, but it also includes doing things that matter, creating jobs and serving customers and clients in ways that really do matter. And yet, I don't know if you guys see this like I do, there are so many people that they're in leadership roles that just don't get it. They don't get that leadership is about serving others and helping them succeed rather than serving themselves. So I still see that. Yep. And I think the other confusion that I see, guys, I appreciate your perspective, is I think there's this confusion about what leadership is and what management is. You would think by now we've figured that out. Management's controlling things, and leadership is harnessing talent, and those are parts of leadership and management kind of go together, but they're different. So, Wade, I'd appreciate your perspective on: do you see old school management? Is it alive and well?
Well, as you would expect, there is definitely old school alive in many places. It definitely varies by the industry. It actually will vary also by the type of jobs. More in a manufacturing warehouse where you can get away with that easier. That's harder to change. More at the professional level, it is very hard to actually retain that, because the professional millennial world, they're not out to, just have a paycheck. They're out to enjoy what they're doing. They're out to make a difference, and the paycheck is just a piece of the equation. So, you can't think in that old world, but the old school, it hadn't gone away completely everywhere, but by golly, in so many places, it can be done so much better if it's still being used there.
The millennial generation gets criticized a lot, not by me. I've got grown millennial sons. But one of the things that I really appreciate and respect about the millennial generation is they won't tolerate that. They won't tolerate old school, hard-nosed managers that really don't care about people. They only care about kind of results. And so I think they're pushing the business world to get better. I don't know if you see the same thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And especially as we move, in this, we're not there yet, but as we're actually in it. We're in the COVID world, before post-COVID and stuff. Is guess what? The millennials know how to maneuver in this world so much better than their predecessors. This is nothing new to them. They're used to talking on their phone. They're used to, FaceTiming. They're used to, doing a chat, text, whatever and stuff. And this is their world. It's a foreign language to so many other people, and yet this is a native tongue for them. And it's like, hey, this is not a challenge, guys. This is no big deal.
But the big deal for us, their predecessors, which is the three of us, by the way,
That's right.
is we have to adapt our leadership style, don't we, guys?
Very much.
One, because of the COVID crisis, work is getting done differently, and the workforce is changing. So Wade's definition of leadership, to me, is going to become more important and prominent, that's really what we're practicing if we want to attract millennials and retain them and if we want to have sustainable organizations.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a great point, Mark, is the impact that it has on the organization as a whole. So you talked about earlier about talent will become frustrated if it has poor leadership. I heard a story just this morning. I had a friend call me. I was talking about what's going on at their company, and their leader has been kind of missing in action and kind of disengaged recently during this crisis. And what happens in an organization often is that in the lack of leadership, other people will try to step in and fill in and take over as kind of the new quasi leader, and it kind of can create chaos as to, well, who's the new leader, who's taking over here. So if you don't have effective leadership, it can be a very chaotic organization too. Everybody's kind of looking to, well, who is that new point to turn to? So it's so critical to have that rudder on the company that says, here's the leadership that I can count on that's leading us all in a unified direction. Because without it, you'll have everybody taking off in their own leadership directions.
Yeah, and I suspect a lot of that's going on right now, Mark.
Absolutely.
And I think this is an opportune time for some of the quote younger generation, the millennials, whatever, to step into leadership roles because they do know how to, drive in this territory and can have the opportunity to then, accelerate their careers, accelerate their impact, and find both the personal satisfaction as well as help the company. Some of them companies, it's literally help them survive, or at least have minimize the impact that the COVID has had.
Absolutely.
So if you guys will suffer through a short story of mine, a few years ago, where I was the head of HR for a company, we were implementing some new software. And I'm kind of a technical zero. I'm no Mark Johnson, I'll tell you that. So I recruited a young millennial manager. Her name is Natalie. And I said, Natalie, would you mentor me on how to use this software? It's making me nuts. And she said, I am happy to. And she said, would you mentor me on leadership? And I said, deal. And we shook on it. And so the beauty of that was 2 generations just really helped each other out because we bring something different to the table. I brought a lot of leadership and experiences from the School of Hard Knocks, and she brought just tech savvy that I didn't have. And so to me, that's kind of maybe one of the new things that we can kind of create in this leadership conversation is healthy mentor relationships. And if it's across generations, even better.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
The millennials like being able to share and help, which is great.
She was delighted to help me out. And in fact, she watched me struggle, and so we both got a lot out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So,
great.
Mark, I'm here eager to hear what Wade has to say about culture.
Me too. So, Wade, tell us your view on culture.
Wow. Culture is, like it says right here, the very first couple of words, it is the personality of the company. It is who you really are. It is what life is, at the company. It's something you can't fake and put on. Yes, you can put, like we were talking about earlier, you can put the words out there and you put videos of, oh, we're the greatest thing since sliced bread because we blah, blah, blah. But, there are so many places, both reaching somebody who's at the company because of things like LinkedIn, et cetera. You can find somebody there that whether you know or semi-connected to, or you go to Glassdoor and guess what? You can find out that all the reviews say that, hey, these guys are morons and idiots, and guess what? They're ruling with balls and chains, like we were talking about earlier, old style. Don't go there. I stayed there for 3 months and got my butt out of there as quickly as I could. Guess what? You can't hide anymore, and that's really kind of the emphasis. You can't hide anymore. The world is about transparency. Whether you want to or not, it's irrelevant. It's going to be transparent with what they find. So the question is you better build the right culture because that's what they're going to find. And on top of it, do you want to leave it up to chance, or do you actually want to have a culture that's worthwhile and actually start putting that culture and news and information out there so people are finding that you are a good place versus, hey, you're an old company you wouldn't worth going to.
That's great. Go
You,
ahead.
you know, Wade, as I think about culture and I've lived in great cultures and lived in kind of some dysfunctional
Mhm.
cultures, and performance absolutely aligned with whether it was healthy or not. Um, as I think about your business, you've been placing,
Mhm.
executives in companies for a long time. I don't imagine anybody has a 100% batting average. You know, when somebody doesn't succeed, what's your experience? Is it more they didn't have the right skill set, or was it more of a culture clash? Or I'd be curious to kind of your experience with
Yeah,
that.
my experience in my career, as well as, just like you guys, lifelong learners and readers, um, most of the time what I see is they really came in, didn't fit the culture. They immediately started trying to change things
Mm.
without listening to what's already there, and came in, disrupted things. Oh, guess what? I work there. I'm one of the key people in the company, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore. So guess what? Even though you can't afford to lose me as a company, I'm leaving because I'm not going to put up with this jerk who's making my life
Yeah.
miserable. And next thing you know, you got people who are exiting. You've lost company value. You've lost people. Frankly, even to the point where someone coming in can sink the ship themselves. But definitely disruption happens more from the fitting the culture. Yes, people do the thing of, we need whatever it is, VP of marketing, VP of sales, whatever. You got that title, great, you're hired, without really going through what is their skill, does it really match what we're looking for. Yes, you've been a VP of marketing at 3 places, all 3 of them have been sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. You must be fantastic. They come on board, and you finally realize what you need them to do is put in a digital marketing strategy, because guess what, this is 2020. Well, all their skills are print media, and guess what, that's not digital marketing, and that's probably not going to help you. Yet a lot of people hire just on, hey, they did good somewhere and someone knows them and therefore they're good, let's hire them. And guess what, you need to figure out what you're looking for before you ever start thinking about a person that fits that plan.
I
You know,
agree.
just yeah. Go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Over the 30 plus years, as I look back, rarely do I see somebody that didn't fit because they didn't have the talent. Usually
Mhm.
you can filter through the talent pretty accurately in an interview process. Usually if they don't fit, it's for the reasons that Wade just described. Usually they don't fit the culture. As I've mentored other people through the years, I said, you look, if you come up, you hire somebody and their skill set's a little bit short on the talent, you can easily teach them some new skills. You can't teach them a new personality typically. So that they are who they are, and they
Yep.
have to really fit your culture. And so it's a two-way street. They have to feel like they're a fit for the culture and vice versa. So I think this is an area that's often overlooked or undervalued when you're picking out the right team. It has to be a fit. Again, most of the time it doesn't work out. It's not because of a skill, it's because of a culture fit of the organization.
And I think that most people see talent and leadership, definitely talent the most, but even leadership, as something more tangible, and culture's definitely more intangible. So it's kind of hard to, determine that, both their own company, but as well, I'm talking about specifically the individual. And so, they really don't look at that. And, you go back, 30 years ago, culture wasn't something that companies talked about. It was, hey, it was a job, it was a paycheck, and most people were content that they had a job and a paycheck and they were going to be there for 30 or 40 years. That's not the world anymore. And so
Yeah.
it is about building a place, not only good enough that you can hire people that want to come there, but you also think on the other side of the equation, you need a culture that's going to retain the people that you have, because today's world, again, let's just take Austin, Texas, but this happens anywhere. Austin, Texas, you got a nice little company here in town, and now the big guys are coming in here that are the high-tech wonder children, and they're multi-billion-dollar companies, and they can pay your employee $100,000 more than what you're paying them, and it is an exciting culture and environment. And guess what? You just lost your employee, and it really wasn't driven by just the money. It was driven by the fact that they're offering me something better, and a lot of that is the culture and the ability to do something and make a difference.
Super.
As I think about kind of this COVID crisis, and it's almost an opportunity for a reset for companies to kind of rethink their strategy, to rethink their direction, to maybe take a second look at, do they have the right leadership in place for the future? They're trying to figure out the new normal, right? And so here's my belief, I guess I just want to test that against you two guys. Wade, you're right. I don't think culture is, unless you're kind of HR or in the people business like Wade and I are, that it gets fully appreciated. But here's what I believe, that culture will be exposed. Weak cultures will be exposed terribly. And weak leadership, by the way, will be exposed terribly with this COVID crisis, to the point where some companies won't survive because of their leadership and because of their culture, and maybe the talent, kind of that whole TLC package that Wade talks about. If a company doesn't have a good TLC approach, where it's an integrated approach rather than kind of, looking at those things individually, they will be terribly exposed during this thing. I'd appreciate you guys' thoughts about that.
Well, you've got the famous quote. I can't remember who said it. Y'all might remember off the top of my head. Culture eats strategy for lunch, and that's exactly what it is. It doesn't matter about your strategy. If you could have the best product in the world, if no one wants to be there, it's not going to get built and implemented and sold, marketed and sold, and your company is going to flounder and flop.
Yeah. Peter Drucker said that the last century.
Okay. Yep, it was.
And it's still true in my experience. I think it's more true now, guys. With this COVID crisis.
I agree. Mark, Wade provided us this illustration, and I love it. So Wade, talk us through this picture. I think it's a great point for leaders.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. Obviously want to get to any kind of Q&A and stuff, but there are several points, and of course this happens anywhere on a timeline, but there are several key points where companies often fail to transition and get the leadership that they need to take them to the next level. So I don't care what company it was, even the IBMs of the world started with a couple of people. So as you start out, and I understand you're working hard, you don't have money, it's hard to justify, but the problem is a lot of times companies don't see where they're at because they're too busy. And yeah, at times, especially up front, you don't have the money, but you need someone who knows how to take you from A to B. And we're not talking about B being the end of the equation. That may be Z. Okay, we're just talking about getting around that first corner in the growth mode, where you're really starting to build, you're wanting to grow, but you really don't know how to get there because all you've done is you've built the product. You got maybe a couple people that are buying the product, maybe got some good reviews, but you really don't know whether you're the CEO, founder, whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't know how to get to that next point. Same thing happens as you're growing. You still, at some point in time, you are hopefully going to get to more of that maturity phase, which hopefully then you're obviously making more margin and everything else. Again, that's a different level of expertise, call it talent, whatever. Doesn't mean the leadership has to change, but guess what? Often leadership may have to change in order to do that because you may not be good at doing that next level. And the same thing happens when you go to the top. And the best example I have of that is I was at a little company called PCs Limited. There were only 250 people, and over half those are manufactured when I started. Well, that became Dell Computer Company. The CFO there, super high integrity guy, actually knew him real well, Don Collis. Did a great job. And when Michael said, hey, we need to go public, Don knew he was not the right guy for it and had the right integrity and everything else to go to Michael and say, hey, I love this place. I'd love to stay here, but I'm not the right guy. If you have another place for me, fantastic. If you don't, you need to hire the right CFO. And he literally ended up taking a different job at Dell, which was great because he did a phenomenal job. But it was like, hey, I'm not the right leader, even though he was a great leader, great expertise. He was not the leader that knew that area of expertise to take a company public. And that's what you need to do. And sometimes people are going to fight you on it. Hey, I can do that. I've never done it before, but I know I can do it. It'd be good for me in my career. Problem is what's best for the company, and how can you, as the leader above that leader, work with them and help them learn. And maybe they're part of the process that does come in and work with that person so that they gain that expertise, and maybe they can go do it at another company.
Absolutely. You know, there's an old adage that is kind of what you're pointing out, Wade, is, you know, the people that got you to this point may not be the people to take you to the next point.
Correct.
And I think that's always a misstep that companies have when they're growing, is that they kind of can hold on. I mean, I understand the family feeling of, hey, these guys have been with me for a while. But the reality is, to keep growing, which is a great illustration of this graph, is you need a different level of talent and a leadership to take it to the next level, and to recognize that is really key.
You know, sometimes that you don't have to throw people away.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just redeploying people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the example that Wade gave was the CFO just found a different seat on the bus.
Right.
You know, it's what Jim Collins talks about in Good to Great. It's get the right people on the bus and then put them in the right seats. And so that can change kind of during that growth curve that Wade talks about.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
Well, let's open it up for discussion. Mark, anybody have any Q&A questions?
Nope. I think we've asked everybody's questions on their behalf.
All right. Super.
I think we're good.
Super. Well, I appreciate everybody's time today. I thought it was a very insightful conversation, great topic. So if anybody would like to talk more about this or have a deeper dive, here's our contact information. Feel free to contact any of the three of us, and we'd be glad to have that conversation. Thanks for joining us today, and have a great week.